Compassion can save the world in lots of different ways, and I'm going to share 3 of them with you today. First, compassion breaks down division. Our world is split by borders, differences, and beliefs. Compassion does not ask us to agree with everyone. It only asks us to see that everyone has hopes, fears, and worth, just like we do. When we choose humanity over judgment, those walls begin to fall. For example, during the global refugee crisis, thousands of ordinary citizens all across Europe and the Middle East chose to take in hundreds of refugees all across the globe who were fleeing from war and hunger. They held different nationalities, came from different cultures, and practiced different religions, but they still decided to treat each other like long-lost friends and family. It is these small acts of kindness that truly bridge the gaps caused by conflict and division, proving that shared humanity can overcome any barrier. Second, compassion can solve what laws and technology cannot. We have plans to fight poverty, climate change, and inequality, but what we lack is the will to care for the people that we will never meet. Compassion turns someone else's problem into our shared responsibility. It turns bystanders into helpers, and apathy into action. For example, in the remote areas here in China, thousands of teachers volunteer to teach in the villages up in the mountains every single year. Laws and educational policies do provide the basic funding and support for rural education, but it is the compassion of those teachers that truly bridge the gaps. They give up their own comfortable urban lives, choose to work countless hours with very little pay, and they accompany left behind children and help them chase their dreams. Third, compassion breaks cycles of pain. Hurt, anger, and violence only repeat when we respond to them with even more cruelty. Compassion does not excuse harm, but it refuses to let pain create more pain. For example, think of conflict like this piece of string. When someone shows violence to you, they tangle it up a little bit. When you show more violence and cruelty back, you tangle it up even more, until one day it forms a knot. But let's back up. If someone shows violence to you, and you decide to ignore it, you decide to face it with tolerance, and you untangle it and put it away, that is compassion. For example, in South Africa, at the end of the apartheid, Nelson Mandela chose compassion instead of retaliating against the fact that he had spent 27 years suffering in prison. He did not ignore the harm, but he chose to lead the nation and face the past with tolerance, avoiding large-scale revenge and violence, helping the world recover quicker. Compassion is to learn to let go and forgive. Compassion is not naive, it is not easy, and you do not need fame or power to practice it. It is listening deeply to a struggling friend instead of giving empty comfort. It is standing next to a lonely elderly who is living alone. It is not judging a stranger who made a mistake hastily before knowing their story. And it is choosing kindness even after a long day. These seemingly small but ordinary acts are actually the truest forms of compassion. Compassion is contagious. One small act ripples outward, like a stone dropped into the water. A small restaurant who offers free meals to the homeless and the unemployed has influenced dozens of others to do the same. A child who has helped an injured stray animal has influenced his classmates to do the same, and maybe even join the animal protection services. Compassion does not need everyone to be perfect. It only needs enough people to choose it every day. So you might be wondering, how does this affect me now? Why do I need to show compassion? Well, as AI is getting more and more advanced, it can write stories, it can chat with people, and it can even give what is called emotional support, but it's not really compassion, because AI lacks what's something that us living things have. It is a beating heart. So as the AI era approaches, compassion turns more into a survival skill. And before you go today, I would like to set you off with a small task. Try to include someone you usually don't talk to in a task, even those who you might not really like, or usually you judge them. You might start to understand that they are better than you think. Or if you get into a conflict with anyone, before firing back, think, is this necessary or can I just let it go? The world is not beyond saving, but it needs a little more empathy, a little more heart, and a little more connection. The power to save the world is already inside of you.